Hello, I'm Gerard Saylor of the LD Fargo Public Library in beautiful downtown Lake Mills, Wisconsin. Right now I'm on the frozen water of Rock Lake, all the way around me. And right behind me is actually a fishing shack that I'm taking the opportunity to set my camera and books down on. I haven't done a video in actually about 2 months. I hadn't really felt compelled to talk about any books, and so I had been thinking about some. What I came up with is some winter-themed novels set in Montreal, Canada, and written by the author name of John Farrow. There's City of Ice, and then a sequel called Ice Lake. And Farrow is actually the pen name of the Canadian author by the name of Trevor Ferguson. Ferguson is an interesting guy. He was actually somewhat of really kind of a failure as a novelist as far as sales go. His first novel came out in 1977, and actually, before he was ever published that way, he made a conscious decision when he was younger that he was not going to take any job that interfered with his ultimate goal of being a published novelist and being a successful novelist. So that first novel came out in 77. Some more came after that. He would win awards. Critically, he was very well acclaimed. He did very well. He would even win grants monetary grants to keep him writing. But the problem was, even though his books were very well liked, they didn't sell worth a darn. None of them sold more than 700 copies. And so in 1995, he decided that, well, dang it, I'm going to write something, I'm going to have it sell, is basically what his thought was. And so he wrote under a pen name, John Farrow. And he came up with a genre novel, crime novel, first one being City of Ice, which came out in, I think, 97. He got a huge advance for it from the publishers, and I think it sold pretty well. And then the sequel, Ice Lake, came out, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years later. I didn't look up the dates. And they're both set in Montreal, Canada, with a police detective in Montreal called Emile Cinq-Mars. He's French. Now, Quebec is pretty much all French, but Montreal has quite a few English speakers. And even though Quebec at one point had actually voted whether or not they're going to secede from Quebec and be their own French-speaking nation, well, obviously that didn't work out, but you have all these English speakers, are pretty much a smaller minority, and there's this kind of clash between the French and the English. And that's going on in this novel when Cinq-Mars, who was an older detective, very well respected and very well known among the police department and also among the public at large as somebody who solves a lot of cases, he's assigned to work with a younger English-speaking detective, and there's kind of a culture clash there, and they're not always getting along. And also, at the time, this was 15 years ago in Montreal, there was a very, very vicious gang war going on between two warring biker gangs, the Hells Angels and the Rock Machine. Murders, stabbings, bombings, all fighting over drug territory and prostitution and extortion and all these other things that organized crime are into. And there was a particularly awful bombing in mid-90s that was aimed at an attorney. And what happened was a bomb was placed in the car of this attorney. It was parked on the street, and it was command detonated, which means that one of these biker gang guys was sitting there watching the car, waiting for the attorney to get into the car so he could blow it up. Well, at the same time he was waiting for that attorney to walk down his driveway and get in the car, there was a kid playing on the street or on the sidewalk. He was like 10, 12 years old. And so at the same time he sees his attorney, surely he sees his kid. And you would think, oh, well, I'll wait till the kid goes by. But he doesn't. He blows the car up, kills the attorney, and kills the boy. And that's incorporated into the novel by Farrow, where Cinq-Mars is asked to join in with a special unit that's going after these biker gangs and trying to stop them. He turns them down. He thinks they're a bunch of gun nuts who are more interested in hitting people on the head than investigating and building a case. But so you got this awful bad guys, child killers, drug dealers, murderers, bombers, beaters. You got Cinq-Mars working against them. You got Cinq-Mars, who's a bit of an outsider in the department because he's so famous and he just doesn't get along with people. So he's getting flack from other police officers who just don't like him as a person so much, and they don't like his methods. And then he's getting flack from inside the department from the guys who are taking payoff money from the gangs. And it's a really good use of setting, and the characters are all incorporated in there. You got good guys, you got bad guys. Ferguson is just a really good writer in general, and he takes that skill and he just sticks it into a genre book. Same thing with Ice Lake, which comes out a little later. That one starts out with the body found by a fishing shack out in the frozen lake near Montreal. There's a pharmaceutical company that's been testing an AIDS drug. They're trying to do an AIDS vaccine or an AIDS treatment, and they're doing it illegally, and they're testing on people who don't know what they're being tested on. They're being lied to, and they're smelling this money, and at the same time the Russian mafia smells this money, and so, man, by God, they horn right in there, and they're bad guys. And just great novels, great uses of setting, which I'm always really keen on, especially since there's not a lot, at least for crime novels, that are Montreal based. Kathy Reichs did one, or has that series with a forensic anthropologist. I've never gotten into those books. I tried reading one and I just didn't like it. And so it's a really neat introduction to a place that you know is there, but you might not know anything about. So Ferguson hasn't written anything under the Farrow name in quite a while, like 10 years. And I did a literature search to see if I can find anything under Farrow or under Ferguson, and I didn't find much. I think that's because the databases I was looking at are pretty much focused on U.S. magazines and newspapers, and he's Canadian. About all that was out there is that he worked on the screenplay for a dramatization of one of his Ferguson novels called The Timekeeper, and the movie actually looks like it's pretty good too. He did some playwriting, and I think part of it is that he was a guy who was living on the edge of poverty all these years as a writer, and he got this huge payday, and so he's got all this money. He's kind of taking it easy, really just focusing on what he wants to do. That's my guess. I was actually going to try to call the guy like I did with Don Harstead and ask him, but I just, I don't know, I felt kind of weird calling Canada, just for whatever reason. But anyway, I'm Gerard Saylor on the frozen shores of Rock Lake from the L.D. Fargo Public Library in beautiful downtown Lake Mills, Wisconsin. That's two books to read, City of Ice by John Farrow and Ice Lake by John Farrow. Both really very good novels as novels, and as crime novels, they're really good too. That's what's to read. Have a good day.